All right, guys, today we're going to do observational contour drawings of plants. That means we're going to look while we draw, and we're going to draw the inside and the outside lines. So to get started, I'm going to show you an outline. This is an outline of a leaf. This is not a contour drawing. When I'm making a contour drawing, I'm drawing the outline plus all the lines that are inside the leaf. Now at your tables today, you have different plants. You're going to be allowed to move around so you're able to draw the different plants. We're going to start with an activity called a blind contour drawing. This is where I'm looking only at the plant. The goal of this is not to have a beautiful piece of art. The goal of this is to look at the plant. The more I look at the plant, the more I learn about it. So I'm going to move fairly quickly because I want you to be able to see the whole spectrum of this project. But you'll see, probably as I'm working, I'm not looking right now, that my drawing isn't the most beautiful one in the whole wide universe. It probably isn't even top 10. I can feel right there that I just went off my page. Okay, so this doesn't look like a beautiful potted plant. But I learned a lot about that plant as I was working. So I want you to try one blind contour drawing. Another kind of contour drawing that's fun to play with is called a continuous contour drawing. This is a contour drawing where I don't lift my pencil. So you can see here I'm going up, I'm doing the center of the leaf, now I'm getting the outline, and as I'm making those veins in the leaf, I'm tracing up and down where I already went. Now I'm going to do a leaf here. These two are just kind of like getting to know you warm-up drawings where I'm learning about these plants. They're not going to be the prettiest, most beautiful drawings in the whole wide world. I want to make sure that I get some of the overlapping that's happening here. Some of the leaves go behind other leaves. In fact, there's quite a lot of overlapping, more than I can even capture in a reasonable amount of time. So I'm going to pause there because you get the idea. It's a continuous contour drawing. So those are two warm-up drawings. Now I'm going to do a regular contour drawing. This is where I can look at my paper and at the plant. I can lift my pencil if I want. The goal is I have this clear paper here. I'm going to start in my sketchbook so I'm able to get it the way I like it. If I don't like something that I've made, I'm just going to turn the page. I'm drawing my pot first. When I'm drawing a pot, I'm making this kind of ellipse on the top. And the bottom of it is actually curved. It's not straight. I'll draw down here what some people do. This looks less 3D, you'll notice. Now I'm going to go up into the leaves. And I'm trying to get the ones that curve. This one I see a little bit of the back of the leaf and a little bit of the front. So I'm kind of trying to draw the angles of the leaves. I'm moving up to another leaf. This one angles up. And I can do this as a continuous contour drawing if I want, but I can also lift my pencil, that's fine. There's a leaf that goes behind that. There are ones that come over this way. So you'll see that not every leaf looks the same. They come at different angles. They're aiming different directions. This leaf pops out behind that leaf. And if you're drawing a different plant, yours definitely won't look like mine. I've taught this lesson before, and I've been surprised to see that some kids wind up with every drawing of every plant looking exactly the same. If that happens for you, that means you're probably not looking very carefully, and you should try to look a little more carefully. All right, so now I'm fairly happy with this. What I'm gonna do is put this piece, it's called vellum paper, over top. And you can choose between a thick Sharpie or a thin Sharpie. And you're gonna trace the drawing that you're happy with. Mine's a little bit too big there, so I'm just gonna make some adjustments. I'm just gonna change my pot and make it a little bit shorter so it fits. That's a fairly easy fix because the size of the pot doesn't really make a huge difference. And I'm gonna trace around my lines. And the veins, you'll notice, aren't straight lines. If I make the veins like this, it doesn't look like a pot. It looks more like a football, kind of. If you choose to use one of these thin markers, you do need to draw fairly lightly. If you push hard, you break the tip on it, and you definitely don't want to do that. You can do some of the lines thicker, some of them thinner. That's really your choice. That would be variety that I would be getting if I chose to do that, a variety of different lines. And a couple more leaves here. Now that leaf there goes off the side, and I'm okay with that. I'm just gonna skip it. All right, now I have a drawing of a leaf. It's on this paper, and you can see when I pulled it off, I noticed that I missed a couple lines. I missed a line here, and I missed a little leaf back here, so I'm just gonna sketch that in. Now I'm gonna move to another plant. So I'll turn the page in my sketchbook, and I'm switching to another plant. This plant drawing that I'm doing now shouldn't look like this one. They should definitely look different because the leaves themselves look different. So I'll time lapse you while I work on that. Now I'm gonna add color to what I created, and I wanna create value too. Value is how light or dark an object is. So to do that, I'm gonna start on this one here. I'm gonna make my pot red. It's not actually red, but it's a little bit more interesting to give the pot some color. I'm gonna stick to the true colors when I get to the leaves, but the pots you can really go wild with because they're all kind of plain gray or white. So now that I've colored it red, I'm gonna take either a black or a brown, and I'm just gonna lightly shade on each side of the pot. The pot is actually a cylindrical shape, so I get shadows on either side where it's moving back in space. So it makes it look a little bit 3D, and I'll put it behind a piece of paper so you can see a little bit 3D, as you can see there. I can see some of the dirt, and that's like a black or a brown. And as I'm working on the leaves, I want to focus on using different values of greens and yellows. So this plant is, let's see, this one right here. When I'm coloring that, I'm going to use a lighter green towards the center and a darker green towards the edges to make it look like the tips or the edges of the leaves are kind of moving back into space. When you're drawing an object, the part that moves back into space away from the viewer tends to get a little bit darker. So what I'm gonna do is just take my dark green and kind of trace lightly around each of these leaves. And then I'll take that light green and do the center area. I can even put a little bit of yellow to really highlight the center where it would pop up a little bit more towards the viewer. So I'm kind of fading from color to color, from dark green to light green to a little bit of yellow in the center. When I'm doing that, it's making my artwork look a little bit more 3D, like it's moving towards the viewer rather than just being flat in space. And again, I'll put it on a white piece of paper so you can see, because these will wind up on paper anyways. So you can see that I'm getting a little bit of variation in my leaves by doing that. I'll time lapse you while I do the others. Some of the leaves actually do have color variation, like this one. You can see it has like greens and yellows. So in that one, I did try to capture the color variation in addition to the value. Now I'm gonna go to each of my little drawings and I'm going to cut them out. I don't need to cut them out exactly. A general cut will work, like I'm not gonna try to get in there. You'll notice that when I was coloring these, the areas where I had the stems, just the black line, I colored green around it because the stems are green and it was just nice to give it a little bit of value. Or I'm sorry, not value, color. So what I'm doing now is I'm assembling a still life. A still life is a picture of stuff that doesn't move. Plants cannot get up and walk away. They do move very slowly and that they grow, but they're not quick movers like people or animals. So I'm gonna lay them onto my picture plane. My picture plane is a fancy way to just say my paper. I have this kind of fun patterned paper that you can use for a table in your piece of art. If you'd prefer a plain piece of paper, you can ask me for that, but I thought you might enjoy using a fun patterned paper. Cutting out. And now I'm gonna play around with them. I wanna work on my composition, how my paper's laid out. So I think I want mine to be maybe towards the top of the paper. I like how it looks to frame my two red ones on the outside and then put my yellow one in the middle. Or maybe I'll try this, red, red, yellow up there. Actually, I think I prefer that, so I'm glad I moved it around. Once I have the composition I like, I'm just gonna flip everything to the back, and I don't have a glue stick handy, so I'm gonna pretend like this marker here is a glue stick. I'm gonna flip it to the back, trace around with glue, stick it on. Then I'm gonna flip this over, use my glue stick, flip it. Some of the glue sticks go on purple, but don't worry, they do dry clear. Actually, I think I want that one lower. I like having the low one in the middle. To me, that feels balanced. Balance is the way your paper is laid out. So for example, if all of my things were on this side, my paper would not be balanced. If it were a scale, it would flop that way. My paper, when it's like this, feels symmetrically balanced. If I put a line down the middle, it's about the same on either side. I want mine to be asymmetrically balanced, meaning my biggest pot's on this side, so it has the most weight, and this side has two smaller pots. So I like it like that. All right, now my piece is done. It's a still life, a picture of stuff that doesn't move. It's an observation drawing because I looked while I drew, and these are contour drawings. They show the inside and the outside lines of these plants.